So now that we have done discussing about the delivery modalities and our different structures in teaching, so we will now discuss about the teaching strategies and processes. So before we proceed on the teaching strategies and processes, we're going to know or identify or define the approach, method, and techniques that we use in teachings. So first, we're going to define what is approach. So approach is the foundation that students guides how teaching is viewed, build knowledge. So an approach approach is a set of theories, beliefs, or principles how language or any subject is learned and thought. It represents the philosophy or mindset behind the teaching. So it answers the questions, why do we teach this way? Why the teacher teach the way they teaches? So for example, so a communicative approach in language teaching emphasizes real life communication and interaction as the goal of learning. So the teacher's way is a communicative approach where communication and interaction with peers or with interaction with other people is the goal of learning. And the other is the constructivist. Another example is the constructivist approach. In general, teaching stresses that learners construct their own understanding through experience. So usually in college, constructivist approach is we use it since we let the students experience on how on the field that they are going to experience in real life. So next one is the method. Method is the organized project way of systematic based plan to implement learning the approach. So another definition is a method is a systematic plan for presenting and organizing the content according to an approach. So it includes the procedures, steps, and activities used to implement an approach in the classroom. So, given with our example before, the communicative approach, so how do we organize the teaching based on that approach that focuses on that question? So, in communicative approach, how do we organize teaching based on communicative approach? If you're if you are having a language teaching and you're a student, so the teacher we're going to use a role play or a debate to improve your communicative to that will be the method, a debate or a role play to that will be the activity or or reporting or demonstration for the approach, it because method is connected to approach. So your base will be your approach, what kind of approach you're going to use, and based on that approach you're going to decide on what method you're going to use for your students. Next is the technique. Specific teaching, brainstorming procedures, actions of tactics, it's the concept mapping. So all in all, a technique is a specific strategy, activity, or device used by the teacher to accomplish an immediate teaching objective within a method. It's the practical classroom application of the method. So technique answers the questions, what specific actions or activities will I use in class? For example, role playing, information gap activities, or group discussion as their technique under the communicative language teaching method that was we be connected to the approach. So that is the definition and the connection between approach, method, and techniques. So now let's proceed on the real deal. So there are 5 learner-centered approaches or methods. So these strategies that demonstrates how these concepts are applied in the real classroom setting. So the first one is the inquiry-based learning. Students learn by posing questions, investigating, and discovering answers on their own or in groups. So curiosity driven, so inquiry based learning is a curiosity driven approach or method. So the process will be the question, so the student will question something, and then they're going to investigate it, or they're going to search further information on it, and then they will analyze all the information and they'll conclude all of it, and then they'll reflect it on their own. So that is the inquiry based learning. So it's more like a student and curiosity driven learning. So for example, in a science classroom, a student explore what causes climate change. So by searching what is the climate change first, and then learning what are the different causes of climate change, they'll conduct a simple experiment and representing the findings. So what are the benefits of inquiry-based learning? This encourages curiosity, which is a very important skill, research skills, and scientific thinking. So mostly they use this on science students. And next one is the cooperative learning. Students work together in small groups to accomplish shared learning goals while supporting each other's success. So cooperative learning, from the word cooperate. So students will integrate their knowledge to one another, share ideas, brainstorm, cooperate with their peers, and they'll learn something new from each other. For example, a group of 4 to 5 students or more students analyze a story, and they're going to give different insights about the story and create a group presentation highlighting the key themes. So the good sides of cooperative learning, the students will enhance their social skills. They'll practice their way of communicating to each other or with their peers. So the key elements of this is positive interdependence, individual accountability, and interpersonal skills. So that is the cooperative learning. Next is the project-based learning. So learners engage in long-term interdisciplinary projects that results in tangible outputs. For example, models, reports, presentations. So project-based learning is this is a teaching method where students learn by actively engaging in real-world and meaningful projects instead of just simply memorizing facts, following step-by-step lessons. Students explore, investigate, and create something that demonstrates their understanding. So The learners gain knowledge and skills by working over an extended period of time to investigate and respond to complex questions, problems, or challenges, or just showing their knowledge and their given course. For example, in a class, the students were tasked to create a mini museum showcasing the local history of their place or in the Philippines, artifacts and oral interviews. So, project-based learning lets the students have a real-world connection between their course or topic and then create something tangible on it. Now, the next one is the flipped classroom. So, flip. Students learn new content at home through videos, readings, etc., and use class time for discussions, problem solving, and practices. So, the flipped classroom is where the students learn something at home, and then just uses the time at school just for practices their problem solving and for another discussions. So this flipped classroom actually helped the students to be more cooperative or more interactive at the classroom. So this promotes independent study habits because the students study in advance and their school without any supervision, and then it maximizes class time for application and feedback. So mostly the students will just going to ask for clarifications about the subject or about the lesson that the teacher is given because they had already learned it or studied it at home. For example, students watch a short math tutorial video at home, and in class they just solve word problems co- col- collaboratively. Collaboratively. So that's flipped classroom. So your home also became your classroom, and your classroom just became your practice ground for the knowledge that you had gained at home. Next is the experiential learning. So experiential from the word experience. Learning through direct experience, reflection, and application based on Kolb's experiential learning cycle. So the learning cycle is experience, reflect, conceptualize, and apply. So experiential learning, we learn this throughout our life journey. So we experience something through life, and then if something goes wrong, you reflect on why and how it goes wrong. You're going to conceptualize and try to avoid or try to not do the same mistake, and then you're going to apply all those concepts in yourself. For example, your experience is that you trust too much or you blindly have faith on someone, and then they suddenly turn their back on you, and then you're going to reflect how and why did it became how did you came to that situation. So you reflect that it's just the problem is not them but you, because you trust them too much and you gave no boundaries to them. That's why they were able to push you to the edge of the cliff. And then you conceptualize that maybe it's time to give some people boundary where you're not going to share everything you have or share everything about you. Then you're going to apply it on your daily life because you had experienced something terrible before, so you're not going to repeat the cycle again. So for example is a students conduct a, another example, a students conduct a community cleanup activity and later reflect on environmental stewardship in a journal. So that is, since you had experienced it, you had reflected, you have the concept in your mind, then you already apply it to yourself. So benefits of this is it connects knowledge with action, walk the talk. So it's walk the talk, and then fosters empathy and social responsibilities. So that that is the natures and teaching strategies and the teaching processes that we have in teaching. I hope you learned something throughout this discussion and the other previous discussion, and thank you and God bless.